reminder all intention, all thought, all action, all from love, all from love, all from love. A reminder that you are human, a reminder that this practice is a practice and only requires your willingness to begin. Be willing, be willing, be willing to act from love, all from love, all from love, all from love. Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. I am really grateful to be able to spend time to share with you. Got a nice light beam hitting me right now. I might need to move around a little bit, honestly. Welcome. I'm excited to be sharing this video with you. I'm actually excited to be trying a new method of communication with my subscribers. I'm taking up space. I really appreciate y'all being early adopters and being working with me and being with me as I learn how to create an online community. Basically, there's still a lot that I'm trying to figure out, but I'm really grateful to have the support of such wonderful folk. And yeah, I'm glad that I can have the space to do something that's my own, but also for you. As a way to offer insights and wisdom that I get from Divine, as a channel, and as a way to just be an example and to show that it's possible to change your life radically. 10 years ago, I was experiencing alcoholism in a very intense way. 8 years ago, I was experiencing drug addiction in a really intense way. And here I am now, traveling, living the exactly the kind of life that I've always wanted, no longer afraid of myself. No longer as afraid of myself and how I choose to grow and take up space in the world. My life is lived on my terms, and I feel incredibly blessed to be able to do that. And so today, what I wanted to share with y'all is a message that I got from the card I pulled for our communications today, which is the Three of Cups. This is the Fountain Tarot. That's a deck that I'm using. And the message that I got from the Three of Cups is radical change comes from authentic community. I decided to move the camera so that the sun wasn't directly in my face. But yes, radical change comes from authentic community is the message for today. And lovingly delivered by the Three of Cups. The Three of Cups is a card that is about communion. It's about connection. It's about laughter, lightness, sharing energy with others that you trust. There's a vulnerability that comes from authentic connection, and that vulnerability is the key to ultimately being willing to face and enact radical change in your life, knowing that you have something worth fighting for, or someone, or a feeling that that you want to connect to, that being your motivating factor for bringing about the change that you want to see within yourself and within the world. This is such a nice message for these really trying times, and it's a really nice message after the intensity of Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, um, where we've been kind of like digging into the depths, um, being really honest about our communication, um, maintaining healthy boundaries in order to protect your heart, and to know that you are acting um, acting with authenticity, um, and really healing some deep traumas that come up. Scorpio snatches anything that is crawling on the surface and brings it up and just like stares at it. And that's what we've been kind of going through. And that's really, really powerful work, but it's also really trying, and it feels very serious. So the sun moved into Sagittarius yesterday. We have the Three of Cups with us, asking us to choose to lighten up a little bit, to find connection with the people and the experiences that bring out our greatest joy, our greatest sense of creativity, and our greatest sense of love. So the cups in the tarot are ruled by water. So that's our intuition, that's our emotions, that's love, that's creativity. It's how we connect through feeling overall. Um, and the threes are about creation, making new things, gathering with others. It's a witchy card. It's asking us to kind of find our coven, and whatever coven looks like or means to you, whether that be people that you create conscious ritual and spell work with, or is it with people that you are able to be the most vulnerable, honest version of yourself with, and creating magic through the community and love that you have there. Like whatever that is, connect to that right now. Shift. You can have those kinds of experiences, like Three of Cups experiences with spirit. It just looks and feels different than it does with maybe like your human crew. Um, it requires a certain level of vulnerability, just like making friends in real life does as well. You have to be willing to let them in. You have to be willing to believe that they exist, and be willing to have faith that you are worthy of that sort of like meaningful connection as well. um, Believe that spirit actually does want to engage with you, and why wouldn't it? I mean, you're here, you exist, and you ask for the help. um, it's a beautiful sort of way to connect. And I think something that I get hung up on, that makes me feel like when loneliness feels the most oppressive, is when I tell myself that I have to experience spirit in a very specific way, that it has to look like me being able to see an angel like sitting right in front of me and talking out loud to me. Like i have I have been really hard on myself in the past for not having that sort of gift, which is very real. And I've told myself that, oh well, it doesn't what I'm doing now isn't as important as to what I might be able to do later when I have like an even more intense, like an even more tangible relationship with my guides. Like that's like that's your brain speaking, that's your ego speaking, trying to really keep me kind of stuck in like this idea of like lack, because the idea of connecting with with spirit as you are right now is so expansive and so radical that it's different than anything that our brains really understand and know how to experience. And so it's afraid. It doesn't quite want to go there, and that's when loneliness becomes this enemy. But loneliness is not an enemy. Again, like I said, it's a teacher, it's an invitation, and it's a way to deepen your relationship with spirit. So one of the ways that I've been doing that is like not just is doing like full on like ritualistic like spells to really bringing the magic into the physical world to loosen the density of the physical a bit, and to make that very, very clear connection, as above, so below. And so I recommend that not only in absorbing the energy of the Three of Cups, um, in terms of like socializing with your friends and your loved ones, also bring that to that sort of like same energy of friendship, kinship, and like offering material like goods with like your spirit crew as well. And I think that I will be offering something soon that is going to be around connecting deeper with your intuition, um, and communicating with your guides. So stay tuned for that as well. So if you're looking to develop kinship and community with your spirit guides, like that will be coming from me soon. Yeah. um, and so one of the other ways that I've been able to connect with community has been I've been to a couple van life gatherings over the last 2 months, month or so. The first one that I went to was mid October. It was a New Orleans van life gathering, and that was the first van life gathering I'd ever been to, and it was a really really welcome opportunity after being in the city of New Orleans for a long time and kind of feeling the isolation of urban, stealth camping. It was easy for me, especially as I was going through a lot of like transformations and starting off this like new lifestyle, just like learning a lot, and it was easy to kind of like forget like why I decided to do this lifestyle, why I decided to like make this huge change in my life. Going to the van life gathering in New Orleans was a huge affirming reminder of what this is about. It's living outside of a system that was built on oppression by choice, opting out of the kind of exchanges and systems that we end up finding ourselves stuck in for the sake of normalcy and stability. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with stability or being normal. It's just not for me, and I've never fit in anywhere, and so it was really really challenging trying to squeeze myself into these like boxes, of 9 to 5, of whatever, like normal kind of like urban social life. Like all of that was really really challenging, and I think that was part of the reason why drinking and drug use was like more comforting to me, because I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't feel like I fit into these experiences simply, and there was something different that I was seeking. And so the van life gatherings, being able to like pull up and be surrounded by other nomads, people who have chosen to live intentionally, because living in a van, you have to like really, it's a choice. It's very very different than sticks and bricks lifestyle, as they call it. um, Everything takes more work, but it is absolutely rewarding work, and it's fun too. Um, and so I think the biggest thing that I got from the New Orleans Van Life Gathering, well, one, apparently it was one of the most diverse gatherings that have van life gatherings that has ever been held, which was amazing. It was one of the hosts was a Black woman who's a really prominent figure in the van life community. Her name is Naomi. She travels around with her husband. Their Instagram handle is Irie to Aurora. I'll put it in the post. And so there was a panel on diversity, equity, and inclusion. There was like really like honest conversations about what who gets the attention from van life, who gets the publicity, who gets featured on social media and like the YouTube videos, who benefits from all that exposure as well. And so there was that aspect of it that was amazing. And there's just like kind of like an instant sort of like community that kind of comes from knowing that we do this like same kind of weird and crazy thing. And I found that non-judgment was just like such a huge aspect of creating community there. And that is like an essential part of my work, is learning how to shed ourselves of self-judgment and judgment of others, and thinking that we know what is better, what is more moral, what is more ethical than other people. um, because when you live nomadically, you have to be ready and willing to be able to face people that don't necessarily have the exact same values or opinions or ideas as you, while still being willing to be and able to like make a connection with them, because you recognize that it's just like another soul like on their journey as well. And so that, it was like a really powerful aspect of the van life gathering that really gave me like a fucking kick in the ass that I needed after spending a lot of like challenging time in New Orleans, kind of just like hustling and just like getting by. It helped invite me into recognizing that this is an opportunity to do something really unique, and reminding me of like what my goals are for van life. The van life is not just about the nomadic living. It's also ultimately, I want to find some land and build a real working community from there. It's a crazy dream, but it is what motivates me. It's what every day I think about it in some way. Whether or not I articulate it in that way or not, it could be about thinking about our education system and like how it could be changed. What would it be like if I had a child, or I don't know about me, but like if I was able, if my community wanted to choose to collectively raise our children in a different way, educate them in a different way, what does that look like? What factors need to be in place? What things do we have to consider? Like, these are the things that kind of like run through my head a lot, and it's all about like building a world that is founded on non-judgment, loving action, and living cooperatively. So yeah, that was like a really exciting aspect of my life and how I've been building community lately. I also went to a van life gathering in Austin a week or two ago, and it was the same sort of thing. I spent like 36 hours with some other van lifers. The van life event in Austin was more of like a pop-up, but there were several, so it wasn't for multiple days. It was just for one day, for a couple hours, one evening. But afterwards, I spent about 36 hours, about a day and a half, with some folks I actually met at the van life gathering in New Orleans. They came to Austin, and we basically just like spent the weekend together. We went to a tiny house convention. We had breakfast together, like had a little campfire, like all of these very like adorable, loving action with people that I don't even really know that well. And it's not so much about like knowing them better than anyone else, having again, it's not about like agreeing with them on like everything that we say. We basically were kind of like on the same page about, political stuff or anything, but with various ranges. I consider myself pretty out there on that scale. Definitely more on like the anarchist scale of things than anything else, but I see where other people are coming from for the most part. A little bit again to avoid the sun. So now that the sun is in Sagittarius, we can take some of the lessons that we took from Mercury retrograde, which again is still kind of it's in the shadow period, so it might affect things a little bit. Ideally for most people, not as intensely as the actual phase, but for some people, it might affect certain things a little bit more. So Mercury retrograde really asked us to look at how we communicate and transmit information. And so with it being in Scorpio, some of the things that might have come up for us is, how do we express authenticity? How do we show care? How do we learn that we don't own what we love, that it has to choose us too? And so when we think about like love, when we think about togetherness and community, that is not about ownership. That is not about possession. That's an important lesson for Scorpio to remind us of. This is about having an honest choice in your community. And right now we're being asked to celebrate the connections that we find meaningful and that are not just about obligation, jealousy, guilt, or control. So let your heart be open during this time while still being uncompromising with what you know to be in alignment with like what you value and what love actually means to you. So take what you've learned during Mercury retrograde and enact those learnings in brash, honest, and bold ways, so that you can have the kind of like witchy, loving, off the charts, amazing kind of community that you have always wanted. For the more personal sort of specifics around how Mercury retrograde, some of the lessons you might have learned during Mercury retrograde might affect your Sagittarius season and your end of year stuff, I would need to look at your natal chart. So if you're interested in details about that, of course, you can just book a reading with me. But that is primarily what I have right now in terms of talking about the Three of Cups and choosing radical change in service of authentic community and connection. The idea, again, is to lighten up as much as possible. I don't say that. I don't use that phrase lightly, so to speak, and say yes to what feels true to you right now. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments in the post. Send me an email, send me an Instagram DM, whatever works for you. Thank you so much for taking time to watch all this video. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. You take care.